Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to KSM Music. You might remember me from such hits as how to choose the right strings on your guitar. Well, first off, the love on that video has been overwhelming and amazing. The comments have been nothing but positive. You guys are awesome, music is awesome, and I'm so glad that you came back for some more. Well, today, I was kind of curious if you've ever felt like this when you've gone into the music store. Hey there! I need some new strings for my bass guitar. Just wonder what you guys got for me. Bass strings, you say, huh? Well, you have come to the right place, my friend, because we have just a few. Oh gosh, I mean, I gotta choose which ones? That's a lot of pressure, man. Which one do I pick? So you've been asked the big question. Which strings do you want for your bass? That is a lot of pressure. Hopefully this will help you decide beforehand so you don't have a bit of a sweating emergency in the middle of the store there, because we know those are a little embarrassing. First off, with bass strings, if you've seen our guitar video, they are pretty similar. There's different sizes and different types and different materials, and so here's just a quick rundown of some of the different bass strings you can get out there. As I was saying with guitars, they have different what they call string gauges or thicknesses of the strings, and on most packs of strings you can see they have the numbers of the string gauges listed on there, so it tells you how thick those strings are. Normal pack, well, these are pretty normal for a bass. We have like a little bit of a lighter version of the string, so they're skinnier, and what that does is it makes them easier to play for you. So if you're a bit of a beginner, you're going to want some skinnier strings that are easier to push on. They don't take as much pressure from your fingers to be able to hold down. You'll be able to play a little bit longer, have more enjoyment out of that instrument than if you're trying to really struggle with some really thick strings just starting out. The advantage there, as you go to thicker strings, the tone gets more stable. The vibrations of the string, because it's a thicker material, is a lot more even and smooth, and the sound gets a little bit better. So the thicker strings, the little bit better sound quality you have, but it is a lot harder to play. So you generally start out on like a light gauge or a regular, and as you play over the years, you slowly progress to thicker strings. But again, it also depends on the type of music you're playing. If you're playing drop tunings, where you're doing like a drop D, or you're dropping the tuning of your strings down, then you're going to want some thicker strings to compensate for that looser string action. If you have a really skinny string that's super loose and you drop down the tuning a little bit, it's going to be so floppy and wiggly. It's pretty much a wet piece of spaghetti at that point, or it's not really doing anything good on your instrument there. So that's kind of the different string sizes, and then among that there's also string types. With guitars, you've got the electric strings, the acoustic strings, jazz strings, and same thing with bass. You've got there are acoustic basses out there. We're not going to go into those today, but we're sticking with the electric versions. But there's the same thing. There's a couple different string types, and the most common one that you're going to see is what we like to call just round wound or nickel wound strings. And we'll go to the mat for a closer inspection here. So here we have a round wound string, and basically what it is a piece of thin wire, and then if you get really close on it, they wrap it around a lot with another piece of wire, and it gives it this shape that looks like a round wound. Then they also have what they call flat wound strings, which if you look, same thing where there's a piece of wire down the middle, but the wrapping around this is a lot more flat and smooth. And the point of this is give you a lot better movement up and down the fretboard, because you don't have the friction on the strings in your fingers. So these are really good for sliding up and down, and they're mostly used for jazz type music. Most people aren't going to be using these flat wounds. It might be worth trying if you're just starting out and you're having a bit of a hard time with the regular flat wound strings. These are easier to push on. But sound-wise, 9 out of 10 of you are going to be going with just the regular round wound strings. Hey guys, I know you liked that segue. The last string that we didn't talk about is actually coated strings. So, as everything else in my life that I touch, bass strings, after touching them, they get oil on them, they get dirt, they get grease, they start to corrode, they get old, they deteriorate, they start sounding crappy, they get hard to play, really stiff, and it just gets time to throw them away and get some new ones. That's the whole reason we're here, right? Because you're trying to figure out which ones to buy. So, the other thing they do with strings to make them last longer, because changing strings is not the funnest thing in the world. Yes, you can do it pretty quick once you get pretty good at it, but it's still not fun. It's taking away from your playing time. So they make strings, believe it or not, to actually last 3 to 5 times longer than a normal string, so you don't have to change them as much. And how do they do this, you ask? Well, you came to the right place. There's a couple different ways they do this. One, there's certain brands, such as Elixir right here, they do what they call a Teflon coating on the string. So they will take the string and just dip it straight in Teflon, and it puts a nice coating on the string. It does make them last long and not corrode as quick, but the Teflon does start to peel off of the string, and so after a while your string almost looks a little Bigfooty. It's getting a little like little hairy string almost. So it's kind of weird, but they do last longer and it doesn't affect the tone or anything. They're great strings. They also have different ones. These are some of my favorites, the D'Addarios. These are nickel-plated steel, extended life, natural feel strings. And so what they chemically treat these ones, instead of dip them in Teflons, they spray everything. They spray all the wires and wraps, and that chemical keeps them safe, keeps the oil and grease and dirt and everything that repels it from the string, makes them last longer so they don't corrode as fast. And so you can use strings like this that do cost a little more because they last longer. So a set of strings like this, again, last you 3 to 5 times longer. So if you do find yourself changing strings once a month, once every couple weeks, once a day, whatever you're into, and you want to cut that down a little bit, get you some coated strings, and that will help out immensely. All right, guys, so we've gone over some information today, and because I know most of you watching this are bass players, we're going to do a quick recap for you. So we've got a few different types of strings. First, the plain Jane, but tried and true, regular old round wound bass strings. Can't beat them. I mean, you can, depending on what kind of sound you're going for. But these are a great all-around string that's going to work for most of the things you want. So, tell you what, you go ahead and have this one. And then we've got the regular metal tape wound, the flat wounds, again, really smooth for jazz and slides, and a little bit easier to push on. And then we've got the coup de grace coated strings that last you 3 to 5 times longer, feel a little smoother because of that coating as well, and they will get the job done too. Hello, KSM. No need to ask me what I need today. I need 1 pack of super slinky round wound 45 to 100 gauge bass strings, please. Oh, how will I pay for that? I'm glad you asked.
Whoa. Off Lucas's forehead.
Cool.
Declined.